Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Project Destiny of I Am. So glad you all are here. I'm super excited this afternoon. I am spending some time chatting with a man that I think is incredibly talented. I got to see him perform about 4 or 5 years ago, and Sam the Sentient has just been busy and really bringing some amazing material out into the world. So help me welcome Sam. And Sam, welcome to the podcast. I know a little bit about your experience because you did a workshop with Project Destiny of I Am, which was incredible. But I was curious to find out how you started on this path and what was like your inspiration and who is your inspiration for being a phenomenal rap artist and spoken word artist.
Thank you so much, Julie, first of all, for having me on your podcast. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. So I'll basically start out by saying that, when I was 4, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is just another name for high functioning autism. And around, I'd say junior high school or, middle school, around seventh grade, I became really fascinated with, at the time I was listening to, MF Doom and, Kendrick Lamar and Eminem a lot, even some Tupac as well. And I just, what I'm saying, I was very interested and very fascinated with the way that these artists were so willing to, create an entirely new world with words. And, one day when I was about 12 years old, I started kind of imitating and copying MF Doom, what I'm saying, in his style, in his writing style. And I just, started kind of jotting that on a notepad. And I realized that I had a knack for writing rhymes. I even showed some of my brothers, and they rock with it as well. So, what I'm saying, after that, I just kind of started writing my own stuff, sharing it with some of my friends during school, on the bus, coming home from school. And yeah, just, I really started falling in love with the craft, really started developing my style a little bit, what I'm saying, over the years. And eventually, it's led me to the point where, I'm saying, after I graduated high school, actually, the first open mic that I performed at was in the first college I went to, Flashpoint Chicago. It was the first open mic that I've ever performed at. And from there, I'm saying, I met a lot of people, I made a lot of connections, and I found out about some of the biggest open mics in the city of Chicago. And, I'm saying, really started developing as a performing artist there, and, just been, growing as an artist ever since.
Wow, that's a lot. And I think that what I really appreciate about your work is that you took your passion and also understanding being a neurodiverse person myself, that we think a little bit differently, but that in a creative sense gives us, I think, a whole big advantage. And you are really powerful with your lyrics, and there's a real, what I sense, because you talked about some really powerful artists creating a new world. And I really love that definition that you gave because I feel that um, like ideology in your music and in your presence and the message that you're trying to, that I shouldn't say trying, the message that you are bringing to the world is is also infused with so much positivity. And I'm wondering if part of that has to do with some of overcoming some of your own challenges in life and infusing that, like using your music as your alchemy to turn that around and to create something out of that.
Yeah, for sure. I remember specifically when I was writing the song Get Back Up, you know, I was writing it during the lockdown back in 2020, when the pandemic was happening. And writing that song definitely helped me, you know, be, persistent, and helped me persevere through this really tough time, not just for myself but for everybody else in the world. And it gave me a sense of resilience and inspiration during this time where what I'm saying? I was isolated in the house, didn't really get exposed to a lot of stuff outside the house, unlike the moment right before the lockdown happened when I was just going to open mics, 2, 3 times in a week. So definitely writing that song in particular helped build a sense of resilience in me during the pandemic, and it helped inspire other people, which I'm really proud of as well.
Yeah, I think that's what stands out a lot to me is your inspiration to other people,
Mhm.
myself included. And working with you on the workshop, your ability to take people who, because we it was the pandemic, right? And we
Yeah.
were in a place where there were a lot of people connecting from different places of the world and different backgrounds.
Mhm.
That normally wouldn't happen. And so I just remember that experience of people having never written anything, maybe some poetry, but
Yeah.
not rap. And what came out of that and what people were able to pull from your guidance was really like freaking amazing. Like I was like, wow, damn, that is incredible that this person just wrote that, walking through these steps. So, I also want to talk a little bit about, your ability not just to bring an inspiration through your music, but through your ability to like share your talent with other people. And, and I see that a lot in your energy. So I just want to talk a little bit about that because I think you've done some other workshops and some other things. And so I'm interested to find out a little bit more about those other experiences.
Yeah. So a little while back, in November of last year, I actually did 3 workshops for some advanced reading classes, actually for the class and the teacher who used to teach me in these particular classes when I was in elementary, middle, and junior high school. It's called Spin Out Reading, but it's an advanced reading class that I took during my time when I was in like elementary, middle school, or junior high school. And that was a really special thing, to just give back to these kids, what I in the same way I felt, like what I experienced from my mentor when I learned from him during my time with him at his organization at MC School, over this past year in 2022. I definitely felt inspired to contribute the same type of encouragement, and advice in my own workshops with these kids, and also being able to share the inspiration that I got to even start doing this craft in the first place around their age. When I was their age, definitely felt like a very full circle moment to me, to just kind of um you know rehash a lot of these memories that I've had of kind of starting in that place, or coming back to that place where I started getting inspired by all these different artists, and inspired to write using this craft of rhyming and rapping as well. So it was definitely a very special moment that I hope to continue to share with many more people moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. And, giving back is where it's at, right? I think it does just, in my experience, it makes a connection with other people that you normally wouldn't make in watching other people be able to create and see what's already within themselves. You
Yeah.
came to the game with this talent, but over time you were able to see how through just, I mean, going out there, and I've seen, like I said, seeing you perform in person about 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, I just knew like there's something about you, and a little shout out to Positive Space Studios for that experience. And so, when you're talking about, doing workshops and really giving back, and working on these projects, I know in watching you that you're launching a pretty incredible project. And I wanted to
Mhm.
get a little bit into like how long you've been working on that. And I see there's some collaboration in there. And
Yeah.
what was the inspiration for this new project, and where are you taking this?
So I started working on it, I believe, in September. maybe August or September of last year. I think that's when I started working on the first single of this project called Still Alive. Um, and I just want to give a shout out to the people that I've been collaborating with. The singer in particular, this vocalist Morgan Gold, incredible vocalist. Yeah, she's been doing an amazing job. Yeah, so basically, I've been developing this project actually for a while. It's been maybe a few years or so.
Hmm.
I think it started, the first song that I wrote off this project so far I wrote in October of 2019. So it's actually been in development for a while, just under a different name and in a different context. But my main goal for this project is to really reflect on and highlight my experience as an adult with autism. Because I that's something that I don't see represented a lot in music and even art. Period. We usually hear about like children with autism, especially in shows like Parenthood. Um, but also, it's important to really highlight the experience that adults have with autism. Adults, you know, trying to be independent, trying to make something for themselves in this world as well. And I think that's a big consistent theme with this project so far, especially within the first two or three songs that I've released so far and will continue to release heading forward as we move into 2023. And I
Yeah.
and I one more thing, oh sorry.
No, but no,
I
go ahead.
my another main goal for this project is to inspire other primarily adults that are on the autistic spectrum and that are on the neurodiverse spectrum that you can be independent, you can make something of yourself in this world if you have enough into if you channel your intuition and understand what your gifts are that you can offer to this world, then you can make anything you want for yourself possible, right?
That's 100%. Sorry about that. One second. Let me just get my dog is in the background.
No worries.
Okay. um, so he's still doing his little growling. He's a sweet guy as a rescue, but he
Yeah.
doesn't like anybody at the door. Um, but when you were talking about, what I really appreciate is, um, the adult, like being an adult. I was diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, and there's just a lot to it that I didn't realize that had a lot to do with my like learning process and other things that when I started talking to other people that were in the same place and had the same experiences, it was like this sense of relief. Like, oh, I'm not alone and I'm not the only person that operates in this way. Like my executive functioning may be way off, but I can work on like eight, creative projects at the same time and understanding that. And so I really love that you're infusing music with this bringing a better understanding for those who are not in the neurodiverse or autistic spectrum, and also helping to inspire other people who don't necessarily see that kind of representation
Mhm.
out in the world. And when you see somebody that knows what you're going through, and you see them be able to create something with that, I think that is really like a powerful message within itself. And I think as you started with this project, it seems like there was a little bit of kind of a mix between 2019 and the whatever, the pandemic happening,
Yeah.
and this this, I don't want to say shift, but this idea of like how you were going to bring your experience out into the world, because music changes the world, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do without music. And so it's so much a part of you and so much of who you are in terms of how you move into the world. And so I'm curious as to like, as you wrote, did you collaborate on the writing, and is some of the writing, kind of directed towards people that are adults with autism, or did you decide to go a little bit on the more general side? And just wanted to get an idea of the more creative process that you had in this project.
That's a great question. So especially for these first three singles that I wrote for, I came from the perspective of just highlighting and reflecting on my personal experience and just being as specific as possible with it, so that it could, potentially connect with other adults with autism that, are doing the same thing. But I mainly started with just really being honest and vulnerable about my own personal experience with life, coming from an autistic lens. And a lot of the things that or even some of the little bits and pieces are meant specifically to target adults with autism or people on the autistic spectrum, like for example with the first two lines on my verse for survive. I say, I've been starving for a while, not literally but figuratively, almost to kind of point fun at this idea which I heard a lot when I was younger, that autistic people are only like literal thinkers, right? And what I do is I kind of flip that stereotype on its head, starting off, and little things like that I put into my work to try to just switch up the narrative of autistic people that may have been enforced and passed down from generation to generation by neurotypical folks, to really kind of just shift the paradigm on how we think and have conversations with and approach people with autism, right? Just highlighting my unique experience alone, I feel can do that, can be a start to that. And I definitely feel it all these songs that I've released so far have a pretty good balance of, I'm highlighting my personal experience, I'm coming from an honest place where if I listen to these songs they can help me, but also they can definitely be applicable to anybody on the autistic spectrum, especially adults on the autistic spectrum, to help them out as well.
Well, I think that is really important in terms of just like having specific material that's written for that purpose, because I feel like there is kind of a beginning of an understanding that the way people think, everything is not cookie cutter, and everybody is not, a cookie cutter. Oh, you fit into this, you fit into that. We do have the places that we identify from, but I think that that is like the autonomy of us being able to identify, and then we know ourselves. So like it's not just literal thinking. You have the ability,
Yeah.
like there's a creative aspect to it, and when we don't see that out in the world, it's easy to just look at what somebody had written about. Okay, well, this is what the characteristics of this type of
Yeah.
person that you know um, with autism would be, and I think that helps to move past some of the stereotypes, as I'm sure that that has the stereotypes can bring about its own level of trauma in terms of a person being able to be in the world and be in the world comfortable as who they are. And so I
Right.
think that this is also really amazing, is that there's something about somebody giving being themselves and talking about their experience, and that vulnerability that you talked about, that gives another person courage to give themselves permission to be
Mhm.
themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another thing that I really appreciate about you, is that you have, like, you really are in yourself and who you are. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about like your experience, kind of standing your ground and finding yourself really, um,
Mhm.
in this process.
Yeah, so I definitely say it, didn't come without its challenges and obstacles. I think I really started developing a passion and an obsession for my craft when I was, in high school, right? And a lot of the times when I was classes that really didn't um align with my special interests, I would just, like write raps on pieces of, loose leaf paper instead of, paying attention in class and doing what I was supposed to. And it, I'm saying that kind of hindered me in school a little bit. But and as I was establishing this part of my identity, this really vital part of my identity, one thing that I had to understand was, if I could use this gift that I have, this passion that I have, this vision of myself doing this for a living, doing this full time, then I can kind of use that as inspiration and motivation to, I'm saying, take care of my business and, propel and excel forward in my life. And, for me, this rap thing is a source of therapy for me. So, I'm saying whenever I feel down or whenever I feel confused or frustrated with something in life, I definitely feel that writing through it, through my craft, it definitely helps me ground and recenter myself and broaden my perspective of what really matters, all the great things that are going on in my life, and I'm saying, just what true success really is for me. So it definitely, saying came with comes with a lot of hurdles and a lot of some emotional ups and downs, but I definitely feel that it's well worth the process to, just riding through it and, just regrounding myself that way.
Well, and I think that what you said about therapy, I mean, I do think there's so much healing in the arts and using art and rap and writing and even being, I mean, don't get me started on the school system because I really, I mean, there's nothing about it that I think fit works.
Right. I
um,
agree.
there's just and I think one of the things I appreciate, and it's really kind of been in the forefront of my mind about how powerful those teenage years are and and what it does in terms of how we can learn from that part of ourselves. I think that happens to be able to say, I'm not interested in this, but I am interested in writing. I am interested in rap. This is my passion. And so it's not rewarded in a school system, but because you took that place where you were at and said, I'm going to do my own thing right now. Like that is this pathway that has brought you here. So,
Hmm.
I think that's pretty incredible that it is really that the willingness to lean into something that was able to get you through and made you feel better and made you feel more connected. And so I guess my question is like if you were talking to anybody else out there that's writing or that wants to or is interested in it, what would you tell them?
Um, that's a great question. So what I would say is, um, come from an authentic place, come from a place of self-expression, like pure, unadulterated, self-expression, and expressing, starting off with just expressing with how you feel, not worrying about how good it is or what other people are going to say. Just start pouring yourself onto a sheet of paper and expressing how you really feel. Cause, that's how I started. And I only, ironed out all the details and really honed in on my skills afterwards. But it all started from a place of, self of curiosity. I would say follow your curiosity. I would say first and foremost, understand the what drives you to write and just express that in an unapologetic, unadulterated way, and let that be your driving force to write, to start with, and then what I'm saying, you could just grow from there if you stick with it.
Wow, I mean, I think, I mean, those are incredible words right there. Like that I think is so concise and like should be out on billboards everywhere, like in terms of like,
Appreciate it. Yeah.
right? I mean, I love that. I love that. And I love that what you just said. I mean, it's like anybody that connects to that and starts from that place, like they're only going to be able to connect with themselves and their art even more. So thank you for sharing that, because it definitely helps me too. Like I was like, yeah, that's right. So the last part, before we wrap up, I want to kind of talk about like where folks can get like information about where you're going to be and how to get in contact with you, and anything else that you want to share in terms of like what you're working on, and if you're going to be performing live, and if you've got some music coming out, and
Mhm.
et cetera.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so later in this month, on January 27th, I'm going to be releasing my next single from my project, off of my upcoming project. And the special thing about this single is it's the most heavily focused on autism and autism awareness. So I'm really excited for it. And I would just say if you're somebody watching this right now and you're on the spectrum, or even just somebody that's a friend or family member of somebody that may be on the autistic spectrum, I think that you're definitely going to enjoy and appreciate this next single that I have coming up, because it not only highlights my experience of having autism and kind of digging into more of the characteristics that I've had with, being on the autistic spectrum, but also educating people on what isn't, you know, part of the autistic experience, and just kind of airing out honestly on a lot of the ignorance that's been kind of pushed around regarding autism and people with autism, and just even giving a history of people who have done great things with autism, not to completely just, give the whole song away, but those are just a lot of things I highlight in this new single. So right now I'm just looking up the information for my next performance. Um, I'm going to be performing at this open mic on January 26th at 8 p.m. And hold on one second. It's at this place called this. If you're in the Chicagoland area or the Chicago metropolitan area, you could check it out. It's the 2020. It's the address is 2020 East 83rd Street in Chicago. If you just message me, my Instagram is Sam the Sentient, SAMTHESENTIENT. If you message me or send me a DM that if you're interested in purchasing a ticket for $5, if I get 12 ticket sales, then I am able to earn $80 off that. So I would definitely appreciate if anyone who is on the spectrum or on the autistic spectrum, or even just interested in what I represent and what I'm all about, to come over to the show. And there's a couple more shows that I have coming up, um, specifically from So Far Sounds, So Far Chicago, on February 26th. I'm going to be performing at 8 p.m. And on March 10th, I'm going to be performing another So Far Sound show. Um, and I can't, publicly state the addresses for these So Far Sounds shows, because they want artists to, promote the venue or the location of it, 36 hours before. But if you're interested in, coming to those shows, purchasing tickets for that to see me do my thing, then just, let me know. I'll again, my Instagram is Sam the Sentient, lowercase letters SAMTHESENTIENT. And my email is samthesentient@gmail.com for those who just want to get in touch with me and learn more about what I'm all about and what I got going on in the future.
Well, that's like that's a lot that you have going on, and a lot of really good stuff. And I think, again, for the folks out there that are autistic, this is huge. I don't often see a lot of things out there in terms of art and really bringing that out into the open. People do need to learn more in terms of how people are in the world, and understanding that. So I would encourage anybody who isn't autistic but like wants to just be able to have a broader understanding of other people, and where they're at, and so we can have a connection with other people, and really know like, oh, okay, I understand. I have had this experience. This person
Mhm.
shared this with me, and now I have a better understanding, so I can go out into the world and bring that understanding with me, and that's powerful too. So, it's all about change, and it's all about supporting other people in that process. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I'll definitely put information on my Instagram and post a couple like the information and the dates. So I mean,
Mhm.
I can't wait to see what's going to happen with this and where you're going, because I know you're going some major places, and I'm just like cheering you in the background.
Thank you so much. I definitely
Absolutely.
appreciate, yeah, I appreciate you having me on your show and having a conversation with you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Take care.
All right, you too.